All right. It's hard to believe, but it's another week. Although it seems like every day is the same. I feel like Bill Murray. I mean, anybody ever see that Groundhog Day movie? I literally feel like Bill Murray at this point. But hey, it's another new week and another week of programming for what I like to call the BBC, not the British Broadcasting Channel, the Brent Broadcasting Channel. And so I'm kicking it off with folks that I really do like talking to. I've had a chance to talk to them over the last year or so on some of the initiatives going on with SugarCRM. So I'm glad to have them back. I'm going to call them the dynamic duo here. The CEO, Craig Charlton. And now, Rich, you have what? CPO and CTO. Am I missing any C's in your titles description?
No, I think that's it. Just six simple letters.
6 simple letters, but not a simple guy. His name is Rich Green. So it's great to have you both here. Now, I'm so used to talking to Clint Oram from time to time, and I always talk about Clint having what I think might be the perfect Twitter name for him. Sugar Clint. Perfect name. But you know, Rich, I'm thinking you might want to change yours to either like Sugar Rich or Rich Sugar. Now that would be a good one.
I don't know if I'd survive it at Craig's staff meetings, but no, I'll do it well.
And Craig, Sugar Craig actually does sound pretty good too. You know?
Well, I just read the other day that Craig is one of those names that's been obliterated from this century. No one names their kid Craig anymore, so it's a dying art.
Guess what my middle name is, Craig?
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow, there you go.
So does it mean both of us are going to just wither away or something? Or?
We're on the decline in terms of popularity here. So.
Oh, well, we're still here. We're still standing, and that's all that matters for today. So you guys announced last week some pretty exciting news. You acquired a company called Node.ai for folks checking it out on the website. Let's jump right into it. Why'd you guys make that move?
Well, look, last year, Brent, you were privy to our launch of our time-aware CX platform, and we painted the vision of what we wanted to be able to achieve, and we'd achieved effectively half of that, which was the ability to rewind history, look for correlations and predictions and anomalies and so on, and bring them up to the current day. And what we were then working on was projecting the future. So effectively trying to provide a crystal ball to our customers. So we were working as hard as we could on that, and it's a really difficult, complex undertaking. So we get a lot of companies run over our desk, and when the Node guys came across, in a PDF it looked fantastic, but they always do look fantastic in terms of all the claims, etc. So we thought, look, if this was even half as good as what we think it is, it would be amazing. It would enable us to really leapfrog forward a couple of years. So we decided that the only way to test them out is to put them to the ultimate test. And if you're saying that you can predict the future, then how accurate are you? So what we did is we gave them our database from 6 months earlier, our own internal CRM database, and said, tell us what happens. And we obviously knew what happened, so we could test it. But we gave them 3 different use cases, and they came back with an extraordinary level of predictability in the 80s and 90s within a 24-hour period, and not knowing anything about sugar. So at that point in time, we sat up and we thought, wow, this could be an incredible addition to the sugar stable and really complete that vision of being able to not just roll back history, but also roll forward. And so we got very serious very quickly and got the deal done last week. So exciting times.
So let me ask you, Rich, to talk about Craig mentioned the roll backward, the time series. Mm-hmm. Maybe just kind of talk about that, because that was like one of the big announcements at the end of last year about how time series and CRM and how that could really add a different dimension of perspective to what we traditionally see being offered by CRM platforms. So maybe you could touch base on that and then talk about how the Node acquisition enhances that.
Sure. One of the things I noticed when I joined Sugar, and this is common for virtually all business systems, is they don't have a good sense of time. And by that, what I mean is They don't record when things that things happen at a specific time scale or moment in time. And to understand really what's going on in your business, to be able to look back and understand that and what's likely to happen in the future, it's important to be able to see not only what has happened, but when it has happened. And it's useful for two use cases. One is, think of it as a new reporting type, and you'll see in the future new capabilities in terms of reporting or dashboards that allow you to go back and forth in time, do searches over time. But it's also incredibly useful data to feed into an AI engine. So right now what we've done is we've connected all of our market, sell, and serve products to our time-aware CXP, and it's spooling and storing all of the events, all the writes, all the changes in the databases that occur in those products, and stores it in one Kafka-powered event stream and storage model. And so applying that to AI, along with the node data and the model generation capability, you can generate extremely informative and accurate models, because you're not only looking at what is happening now and what has happened sort of from a change in the past, but exactly the patterns of when things are changing. And you can look at it in a simple way. Our CXP time-aware database allows you to look back with extremely high fidelity, high definition view of history. And the node information, the node models, take that and allow you to look forward beyond where you are in time to project what's going to happen in the future.
Talk a little bit about this notion of high fidelity, high definition. When I think of those terms, I think of music. I think of different things. I don't think of CRM specifically. So maybe you could tell me, when we're talking about CRM, what does high fidelity, high definition mean, and how does this combination of what you bought with Node and what you currently had fill that description?
Well, look, it's a combination of different factors, Brent, but to be able to have a high definition view or a high fidelity view of your customers and your business and your market is absolutely crucial. But the reality for people using CRM systems out there, it's a decidedly low fidelity view, because the data is generally out of date, it's wrong. I mean, it's attriting at a ridiculous pace. And even more importantly, it's very far from being complete in terms of the general pool of information that's available beyond your four walls. So it's a very, very small subset of the complete picture of the customer. And if you don't have the complete picture of the customer, you've got a decidedly low fidelity or low definition view. So, we believe that what we've done with the CX, the time-aware CX platform, but obviously combined now with Node, giving us this future clarity, projecting forward, gives us the ability to have a really high definition view of the customer. And Rich, you might want to talk a little bit about what we're doing in terms of using the external data to supplement the view.
Sure. In fact, I was going to start off, high fidelity refers to both breadth and depth, the breadth being time, but the depth being the amount of information that we can access for an individual. As you know, Brent, you're the expert here, but CRM systems are notoriously thin in data, both in terms of the information entered, errors of omission or commission. It's spotty, it can be inaccurate. One of the virtues that Node brings is a supplemental data set that we license data from a variety of data providers, and we use machine learning algorithms to reduce that data set down into what is referred to as embeddings or hints, lowercase h, by the way, hints into the model. So it uses the time-aware CXP data, which is derived from the information that is classically in the CRM, and it adds in these node embeddings, and those embeddings involve industry information, company information, professional information about individuals, etc. So you're supplementing the CRM data set, as rich as it is because it's a time series data set, with all sorts of external information that allows you to build models in a more accurate, and high fidelity manner.
I'm thinking we're in the middle of 2020, and it seems like this should have been done by the industry years ago at this point. But we're in the middle of a pandemic, and things are happening quickly. Things are changing quickly. This acquisition, was this one that you guys had kind of thought about doing for a while, and we're planning on doing it at some point? Did the pandemic have any impact on, well, maybe we should try to do this now and try to get this ready so that when things are on a more even keel, that this will be something that you could roll out to your customers? What role did the pandemic have, if any, in kind of your decision to buy Node at this particular point in time?
Well, so Brent, as I said, when we launched the time-aware CXP, it was all about being able to provide that ability to roll back and roll forward. That forward piece is the most difficult part. And so we knew we wanted to do that. We were working with a number of teams internally to try and build that. And you come into an era now with the pandemic, and we've gone from being reasonably predictable to having a very, very low level of predictability in business. And predictability along with performance are the two things that lead to shareholder value. If you only get one of them right, then you're not best in class in terms of shareholder value. So right at this particular point in time, if we could have waved a magic wand and said, what else would we add to the stack? It would have been this predictability component. And fortuitously, through connections with our owners, we heard about Node. We started doing some work. As I said, we went out and did the ultimate Node challenge, put them to the test. And at the end of the day, if you're looking at all of the elements of AI and being able to provide predictive insight, what's most important? It's accuracy. Accuracy is absolutely the most important. And as I said, we put them to the test and they came out way beyond our expectations. So we jumped at the chance. I'm not sure it was necessarily pandemic related, but with the pandemic impacting people's level of predictability, we thought this is no better time to do it.
But I will say, Brent, that the pandemic, and hopefully there won't be another use case for 100 years or more. It's not a great situation at all around the world. But the use of Node technology in such a situation can be vital. Obviously, it's not going to predict a pandemic, hopefully unnecessary, as I said. But what it can do is import a lot of information beyond your standard CRM information and even beyond the standard Node embedding information. It could look at financial data. It can look at very, very up-to-date industry data and give you a prediction about what might be happening in your key sectors that you sell to. For example, your ICP might have been airlines. Now, obviously, you could just read any post and you'll figure that out. But in a more subtle fashion, you might be able to deduce through AI as well as a variety of data sources that your ideal customer profile is going to change as a result of the impact of this. And in fact, here is the likely ICP that, given history and the changing economic environment, would serve you well during these times. So predicting something of this scale, not likely, predicting the impact and giving you guidance about how to deal with it is certainly in the realm of AI in the Node platform.
I want to take a kind of a step, like a couple of thousand feet up, maybe. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about what you're hearing from your customers about what they are facing and what they are needing from you as their CRM and customer engagement kind of platform. What do they need from you in the midst of what we're facing currently?
Well, look, it differs, Brent. And as Rich said, if you've got an airline customer, it's going to be very different to a toilet paper manufacturer. So, there are very, very different industries, and some of the industries have a massive headwind, and unfortunately, some companies are really struggling to survive, and there are others, unfortunately, a lot fewer that have got a tailwind, and then there's the big, massive companies in between. I think what companies need right now, from what they're hearing, I mean, they need us to be as accommodating as we can, which we have. We've come up with a whole raft of policies around COVID and what we're doing. But the two fundamental things they need: how do they keep their existing customers? So providing likelihood to attrit in terms of a forecast model, absolutely crucial. and also providing insight, as Rich said, in terms of what are the industries with a high propensity to buy your product right now, and it may be different to pre-COVID. So providing those two elements, which CRM really is responsible for providing, and we believe with Node, and we've already put them to the test on both of those, and come up with really high degrees of accuracy. So being able to predict both of those components, tell me which of my customers are likely to go somewhere else way before they've actually told me that. So they've shown early signs. I can get my arms around them and protect that revenue, which is crucial. But also show me how I can innovate in terms of winning new logos, winning new businesses, into winning new revenue that previously we weren't enjoying during the pandemic. I think those are two really critical elements.
What about the idea of what digital transformation is? Are you seeing the definition of that changing, your customers changing their definition and their need when it comes to the idea of digital transformation? We've seen during the pandemic, like overnight, people went from going to the grocery store to shop to having to shop online. The tremendous uptake of the percentage of retail that is now being done via e-commerce and digital versus what it was just right before the pandemic hit. Massive changes, massive behavioral changes, massive customer expectation changes. So are your customers, how are they handling that? And how are they looking for you guys to help them kind of figure out what does digital transformation mean for them today, as opposed to what it might have meant before COVID-19 hit?
Well, look, we're seeing it manifest itself in a variety of different ways, but obviously the COVID has massively accelerated digital transformation across everywhere, across all industries. Unfortunately, my wife was already on the iPad every night buying everything she could buy well before COVID, so that hasn't sort of changed too much. She's adopted a digital purchasing lifestyle very, very early. But as you know, Sugar has the choice for customers. They can be in our cloud, they can be on premise, they can be in a private cloud, etc. We've actually seen a massive acceleration from customers who were previously on premise, and now with COVID and not being able to go to the office, etc., that they've seen that move to the cloud that a lot of them were already planning has been accelerated, and we've offered a number of incentives to help our customers make that move as quickly and expeditiously and cheaply as possible. So we've seen lots of instances.
To add to Craig's point, the cloud migration thing is a really good example of businesses broadly are under stress at varying levels, and they're trying to remove from their day-to-day tasks everything but the core of their business. At Sugar and previous jobs, we refer to it as core competency, which is what is it that you are doing that is solely differentiates your business. And if you could outsource things like cloud computing and using Zoom instead of building your own, that's a really good idea. But I think the struggle for these companies and all industries right now is the term fog of war, right? So much is changing so quickly. To your point, Brent, how do you spot that, and what do you do about it? And my view and our view is a year or two we're going to look back, and during this time of change, the CRM industry in particular, but all industries, we'll look back and go, wait a minute, you used to actually stare at all this data and try to make sense of it, which is beyond the realm of a typical human. They're going to be inundated with data, particularly now because of all the changing data. And you'll instead look at what is the key points, what are the key insights that you need to be aware of, and what are the suggestions about what to do. It's referred to as next best actions, but what should you be doing? And the higher the rate of change, and we're seeing that right now, but that'll probably continue post-COVID because the world has been introduced to a whole bunch of new concepts. The higher the rate of change, the more you need help in understanding the data. And that's why AI is so important to our mission going forward.
So you see end users of CRM applications. A lot of them, I still think they don't really have a handle on what AI can offer them. And because of that, maybe the usage of CRM, the adoption level of CRM is still way beneath what I think it should be at this point. Do you think such a tragic circumstance of what's happening with the pandemic and as you guys both said, causing people to have to try to understand as much as possible about their current customer base so that they can predict the needs going forward? So do you see this accelerating the adoption of actually using the intelligence that's in these systems?
Well, if I may, I think there are two forces. One is the external pressure of the environment to drive people to try to understand more, right? Because it's changing so quickly and it's such beyond imagination in some cases that people are seeking tools and the means to understand what's going on in a manner that they haven't been yet previously motivated to do. And so looking for insights and next best actions is important. But I'll steal a term from my boss. One of the key things that is part of our strategy is the democratization of AI, which means this isn't something that should be just for the few. It should be for everyone. And so including AI-based solutions in our key products, bundled in those products, whether it's SugarCell or SFA solution, or Sugar Market or SugarServe, so that it's just a natural part of the environment. Yes, you can see the data, but you can also see the insights or the key things you should be looking at, or the abstractions of that data and the recommendations or actions around that data as just part and parcel of the everyday use of CRM. I think these two things coming together will drive adoption very aggressively.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, for me, the thing that gets me super excited is providing our customers an unfair advantage over their competitors. And I think by doing this, and I call it the loyalty dividend, but we want to embed as much of this functionality into the application for customers who are already licensing sugar. So they're just going to get it. One day it's not there, the next day it appears. And once they start using it and relying upon it, they'll never look back. I mean, it'll be something that just becomes a fundamental tool that they use in order to be as effective and efficient and productive as they possibly can.
Let me ask you each this question. I guess, Rich, from your standpoint, what is the last 6 months? How has that affected your approach to being a CPO and a CTO? Has it changed? Has it not changed? What has it done? And also, Craig, let me ask you the same thing after Rich gets done. How has this changed your whole approach to business and Sugar's business going forward?
Well, from my standpoint, I've always been the reason in technology realms that you want to go into the office and have a common place is the unplanned invention that occurs when you're running into somebody or you hear a conversation and suddenly an idea pops up and you're doing some amazing things that you wouldn't have been able to plan for or schedule a meeting for. So that's a challenge here. On the flip side, however, what I've noticed is we've become, as an organization, more efficient, more focused, and more productive when everyone is working from home. And there's a key point here, which is we've always run an office and work from home environment at Sugar. And it's been extremely effective. We want our developers and everybody in the product organization to have a choice. And some work from home once or twice a week. Some live in places where we don't have an office. The challenge has been in that regard that when you're having a meeting, some people are in the room and some people are calling or videoing in, and you don't have like equivalent fidelity, right? And this really levels that and allows us all to work together as a team as if we're all in the same room. And then reaching out trivially, using Zoom or Slack videos when an idea pops up, we've seen that it's extremely effective. We've all enjoyed working together in this form.
Yeah, and for me, Brent, as a CEO, I said to you before, I've gone from working from home to living at work. It really has been a rapidly changing paradigm. But from a CEO's perspective, I suppose there are a couple of different dimensions. It's been really, really important in these difficult times for us to look after our customers. So we've made a number of policy changes. We've extended end of life on products. We've made things free that we used to charge for. We've gone through and provided an escalated option to move from on-premise to the cloud and not charging anything for that, whereas previously there was a charge associated. So we've tried everything we can to look after our customers. And then in terms of our employees, we're actually a bigger company now than at the start of the pandemic. And I made a commitment right at the start of the pandemic. I said, look, we've got a number of different, business cases that we've worked through from a budgeting perspective. And I said to the employees, none of those will necessitate a workforce reduction due to COVID. And we've maintained that. And I think that's really important to help our customers in tough times, and incredibly important to make our employees feel comfortable. We didn't shave wages, we didn't furlough people, we didn't do any of those things. And then last week I saw one of our competitors had a record quarter and laid off 2,000 people. So I think that was the number. Those sorts of things, for me, it's important to have the integrity to, be able to stand up as a CEO and make the hard calls on not taking knee-jerk reactions to things and finding ways that I can help in the broader community.
So once we get past the pandemic stage here, do you think CRM, I'll say, I want to kind of get a overarching view, but feel free to just talk about sugar as well. But do you think CRM comes out of this better positioned, better thought of, better prepared to raise adoption, to see more usage, to see more positivity when you think about CRM? Because let's face it, there's still a lot of folks who think of CRM as a 4-letter word, particularly like sales folks. Do you see coming out of this CRM being better positioned to be more used, more helpful, more adopted, and better looked upon by folks in the industry, folks looking to try to get their sales done, get better marketing, build better relationships with customers, just generally speaking?
So look, one of the reasons I was so excited to join Sugar is that, I've been a frustrated CRM user for forever. And, I've used a number of the different products. And the fundamental truth is there are some things that CRM systems have never got right. And none of the vendors have. And when I was doing my due diligence about the role and I spent time with Rich and the team, they were working on fixing some of these, lifetime Achilles heels for CRM. So, I believe, on the two elements, if you can nail the time aware piece, which we're doing, and now we're closing the loop with the missing piece of the jigsaw puzzle with that future perspective. And if you can get the balance between effort and benefit, which has always been inverse with CRM systems, there's always been maximum amounts of effort and very, very little benefit. If we can turn those tables and make people see this as an indispensable tool that makes them the best they can be in their role, then those two things will definitely change that 4-letter word view of CRM. I think we're in a position where we've taken some bold moves and we can change that paradigm and make CRM an indispensable business tool, not just for management, but for everyone in the business through all layers of the business. And
I'd add, Brent, that CRM, the 3-letter version, applies to many realms, right? Marketing, SFA, customer service, other. In marketing and customer service, it's really 3 letters, right? And the reason is that those systems are essential tools to just doing your job at all. You can't do marketing automation and marketing programs without systems such as Sugar Market, and equivalently for customer service, your day-to-day job is interacting with customers through a customer service system. It is bordering on 4 letters when you get to the SFA element, but when you project forward, they'll at some point when this ends or curtails, it's going to be a new normal in which visiting customers will be less frequent, more online interactions will be more frequent. The amount of information made available to you in your CRM as a result of doing a lot of work online will be valuable. So people are getting used to the new normal now and relying heavily on these systems, particularly in the SFA world. I think it's going to be a much greater part of the sort of the day-to-day use is to interact with these systems, or rather, given the acquisition that we made, be informed about what you need to know before you reach out to a customer or how you consider an opportunity.
And this has been a great conversation with you guys. Let me end on this. What do the next 12 months look like for Sugar?
Lots of growth and bringing the power of Node to our customers. And the beauty of it being a very, very proven platform, and we saw it in our 24-hour test. Our customers are going to see this capability manifesting itself in their applications very, very quickly. So, I think that's a real game changer.
Yeah, and I'd add, Brent, you might have been around a few years back when I gave a talk at SugarCon about quantum computing and that level of computing resources required to do one of the two things in CRM. CRM is about accounting for situations, inputting information, doing straight up forecasting, but it's also about predicting human behavior, right? And a year looking back or 2 years looking back, we'll see that we move from just staring at numbers and drawing your own conclusions to getting insights about what is likely to happen, i.e., predicting human behavior. And we're on a very long journey from a computer science perspective as well as a business perspective. But a year from now, we're actually doing it. We're using systems to predict human behavior, not just count up the things that are going on right now.
That was my last question, but just to get my buddy Rolf Korbs in, I think you kind of already answered it, but just to maybe in a nutshell, how does the Node AI acquisition help with getting to that new normal?
Well, as noted, the research and development we did in terms of time-based systems being critical for predicting in the future, plus the added information and the fundamental platform value of Node, which is it automates the creation of models, it automates the selection of the ideal model, it automates the training of models, and applies the right algorithms for a given use case, allows us to very, very quickly deploy new models and new use cases and new solutions. And so the explosive growth of prediction is really going to blossom as we move forward over the next months and years.
It's been great talking to you guys. Oh, Craig, you wanted to add something?
Look, I was just going to say, in summary, for me, Brent, it's about providing our customers an unfair advantage. And it's as simple as that. And anything we can do to provide them that advantage over their competitors, that's what gets me bouncing out of bed in the morning.
Hey, it's never a bad thing to bounce out of bed. That means you're excited about what's ahead, man. That's great. Oh, this has been a great conversation. I want to say I can't wait to see how this all works and progresses and moves forward. So once again, thanks to Craig, Charlton, and Sugar Rich Green, man.
Thanks very much, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow because I'm apparently sheltering in place and always live streaming at this point. But thanks again.